This is Fresh Air. I'm Dave Davies.
Trucking, got my chips cashed in. Keep trucking, like the Doodah Man. Together, more or less in line. Just keep trucking on.
Bob Weir, the guitarist, singer, songwriter, and founding member of the Grateful Dead, died recently at the age of 78. The Dead were a unique phenomenon of rock and roll. Spawned by a chance meeting between Weir and Jerry Garcia on New Year's Eve in 1963, the band did plenty of recording, but was probably best known for its long, improvisational concerts, attended by dedicated followers who traveled on the band's tour route and camped out at multiple shows. While Jerry Garcia was the band's lead guitarist and singer, Weir became known for his inventive rhythm guitar. Bob Perales of the New York Times wrote that Weir strummed his rhythm chords lightly, nimbly, and malleably, charting and shaping the ever-shifting undercurrents of the Dead's songs and jams. While the band officially ended with Jerry Garcia's death in 1995, surviving members continued playing their songs in new groups, including Dead and Company. Weir and the other members of the Grateful Dead were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1994, given a Lifetime Achievement Grammy Award in 2007, and named Kennedy Center honorees in 2024. Bob Weir continued to play his own music and was on our show in 2016, when he'd released his first album of original songs in 30 years, titled Blue Mountain. Many of the songs were co-written with Josh Ritter. Weir said the album was inspired by the time when, as a teen, he ran away to work on a cattle ranch in Wyoming. The ranch was owned by the parents of John Perry Barlow, who later became Weir's songwriting partner. Weir spoke with Fresh Air's Sam Briger, and they started with the opening track from the album, called Only a River.
Oh, Shenandoah, long to see you. Hey, hey, you rolling river. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to see you. Hey, 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 only a river gonna make things right. Only a river gonna make things right. Only a river gonna make things right.
You said that this album was inspired by a summer when you ran away to become a cowboy in Wyoming. How old were you?
I was 15.
So did you already know how to ride? Were you herding cattle?
Yeah, when I was a little kid, my folks were sort of in the horsey community, and also we used to vacation up in Squaw Valley, which in the wintertime was in California here. In the wintertime it was a ski resort. In the summertime it was a cattle ranch. And during the summers when we were up there, there was a riding stable that we spent a lot of time at. And the old cowpokes who ran the riding stable, a couple of them took a shine to me and sort of taught me how to ride and some of the basic skills of cowboying, how to cut cattle and stuff like that. I never did really learn how to rope very well. But by the time I was 9 or 10, I had a pretty good grasp of the basics.
Through your career, you've seemed to be drawn to cowboy and country songs. Some of them you've written, like Mexicali Blues, and then you've also covered a lot of songs like Me and My Uncle, Marty Robbins' song El Paso. You've also done songs like Johnny Cash's Big River. Why do you think you're drawn to those tunes?
I've actually wondered that myself, and it occurs to me that I lived that lifestyle for a little bit, not just that summer, but I'd go back out there and work with Barlow, and part of working with Barlow when I was doing that was we'd live on the ranch, and we had the ranch to run, and if I helped out, we'd have more time to write. So I spent a lot of time doing that kind of stuff, and I kind of got steeped in that tradition a little bit. And also, for what it's worth, when I was a kid living there in the bunkhouse, there were in the evening, the old boys would they'd pop a cork and they'd tell stories and sing songs. And I was the kid with the guitar, so I was their accompaniment. And so I learned a bunch of that stuff, and as I say, got steeped in that tradition, and I just sort of carried it around in my hip pocket for the rest of my days. But it's not so much the songs that stuck with me as the delivery, and particularly the storytelling aspect of singing those songs, of putting them across.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because I've noticed that it feels like you like songs that have a narrative to them. A lot of your songs, they tell us some kind of a story, which I think contrasts with the other main songwriting team of the Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia and Robin Hunter. Their songs were often like impressionistic. They would generally like evoke a mood or something. Whereas when I listen to your songs, I find myself imagining a specific narrator or character. Do you think that's true?
Well, that's kind of my approach. That's what I'm most comfortable with. For years, I've held forth with the opinion that every artist of any stripe is first and foremost a storyteller. And the story can be impressionistic or it can be linear in nature, and I'm comfortable with either of them, though when I set pen to paper, more often than not, it comes out more or less linear. I see songs as little movies, short movies, and I try to let the characters as fully as possible express themselves and let the story develop so that there's intrigue and all that kind of stuff.
So you have a song on the new album, Blue Mountain, that's called Kai Bossy, which is about 12-step meetings and addiction. The Grateful Dead had a long and intense history with drugs. Like the band got its break as the house band for Ken Kesey's acid tests, and ever since then the Dead had been linked to psychedelics. And you've been forthright saying that for a time LSD was very informative to your way of thinking. But there was a lot of tragedy around drugs and alcohol in the Grateful Dead. Band members either died from overdose like Brent Midland, or from drug or alcohol related illnesses like Pigpen, and of course Jerry Garcia. And I'm not really sure what my question is, but I guess I was thinking about all that history and we listened to that song, and I was wondering how it might have informed the way you wrote it.
Christ, I don't know how to address that. Well, I can't deny that I had a fair bit of either personal experience with drugs, alcohol, or whatever, or close friends of mine had intense experiences with them. So I guess I know what I'm talking about to some degree when I'm helping a character flesh himself out in that regard.
She's got everything we like for. She's got everything I need. Takes the wheel when I'm seeing double. Pays my ticket when I speed.
When the Grateful Dead started playing, you were 17 years old, and you lived on Ashbury Street at the height of the counterculture in San Francisco. And the Grateful Dead and its music was really at the heart of that movement in a lot of ways. At 17, were you prepared for that? It seems like such a young age to have all that thrust upon you.
I was ready for anything. Come on. I was 17, 18, and the Haight-Ashbury was popping. Now this was the summer of '66, spring and summer of '66. That was the real summer of love. The '67, the media made it into something that we didn't recognize. And called attention to it, and everything that had rattled loose in the rest of the country ended up in the Haight-Ashbury, and things went kind of sideways there by then. But in '66, the Haight-Ashbury was a youth ghetto, but it was a joyful place.
You were adopted when you were born, and you met your birth parents pretty late in life when you were around 50 years old. And
Right.
and I guess you had a close relationship with your father until he died last year. What did you learn about yourself from finally getting to meet him?
Well, for instance, little things like I always go outdoors to clip my fingernails and toenails, and he did too. There are little mannerisms that you would think that would be you'd pick up by watching, but they were there. We walked, we carried ourselves the same way. We had the same sort of sense of humor, that kind of thing. He was a gentleman. He was an innate gentleman, and I think of myself as such as well. And he had a quality of leadership. He was basically born to it, and people always relied on him for it. And I've found that that's more or less come my way as well. You know, it's a gig. Everybody has to have one. And people look to me for leadership a lot. It's just something that I can provide. It's not something that I want. You know, I'd rather people left me alone, but in that regard. But someone's got to do it.
So over the years, you must have imagined what your birth parents were like. How did that compare to actually meeting them?
As it turns out, my dad, he had no idea I existed to begin with. He had had an affair with a girl in Tucson, where they were going to school, and she got pregnant and very quietly slipped away and had me in San Francisco, the famous liberal city back then, and then came back and never let on that anything had happened. And so when we met, you know, it was a big surprise to both of them. Now, I found out about his existence. My birth mother, after my adopted parents, a number of years after my adopted parents had checked out, she contacted me because I'd tried to find her, and it was not possible. So she ended up contacting me, and she had 12 other kids. So wow. I didn't feel like I needed to complicate her life all that much. Mm-hmm. But we kept in touch, and I'd call her on Mother's Day, and every now and again we'd see each other and stuff like that. I'd send her flowers, that kind of thing. But she gave me my birth father's information last she knew of it, and he was a guy named Jack Parber, and he had been a student at the University of Arizona. And so I got a private eye within about 10 minutes, he turned out the information that he was the commanding officer at the at our local Air Force base. And I sort of packed that under my pillow for a few years because I'm pathologically anti-authoritarian. And I didn't figure that I needed the rejection that I was sure to find from this guy who's probably some sort of military authoritarian kind of guy. Then, not long after Jerry checked out, my curiosity got to the point where I couldn't live with it anymore. And so I had to find that out. And so, I figured I had three choices. I could drive up to his house in Novato, up north of where I live, about, maybe 8-10 miles from as a crow flies from where I live, and just knock on his door. And I figured, okay, that I don't want my first and last vision of my father watching him clutch his heart and fall over backwards. Yeah. I figured I could write him a letter, but he might crumple that up and throw it away. So I figured, okay, I'll call him. And so I did. And he was on another line. I was disturbing him at the time. He said, listen, can you call back in 10 minutes? I told him, listen, my name is Robert Weir, and I live in Mill Valley, and I've been doing some research and turned up some information that might be of considerable interest to you. And he said, okay, well, I'm on another line right now. Can you call me back in 10 minutes? And so that was a long 10 minutes. I waited. Yeah. Called him back and said, can I ask you a question or two regarding certain events that took place in Tucson 50 years ago? And he got real quiet. And he said, well, okay. And I said, well, did you know and were you perhaps romantically involved with a young lady by the name of Phyllis back in that time? And he said, well, and he was alone. I could kind of hear it over the phone. He said, well, yeah. And I said, okay, well, sir, I don't know how many kids you have, but there's a strong likelihood that you have one more than you know. And he got real quiet. And then he said, okay, the only Bob Weir that I know of is this guy who sings and plays with the Grateful Dead. Apparently his kids were fans. And I said, well, sir, that would be me. And then it got quiet again. And we talked for a little while, and then we met the next day for lunch at both of our favorite Mexican restaurant here in Marin County, and we got real tight real fast.
There's a touching story that one of his sons, I think, died of spinal cancer.
Yeah.
But he was a musician too.
Yeah.
And the family gave you that guitar, and for a long time you would play that guitar on stage, right?
Yeah.
And
it finally got stolen.
Oh, it did? Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And the son was a Grateful Dead fan, wasn't he?
Well, all four of his sons were Grateful Dead fans, though the one who I never met was probably the least a Grateful Dead fan. He was more on his own. He was kind of into that country-esque style of music that was real popular back in the 70s. He was a flashy but good Telecaster player.
You and Jerry Garcia were the two lead singers of the Grateful Dead, and he died in 1995. And you've said before that he was like an older brother to you. At some point, you started singing his songs in shows. Was that tough for you? Was that an easy decision to make, and was it hard for you to sing those songs at first?
No, actually, it was a while before I decided I was going to go ahead and do it. I just had to feel it out. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know when. So I just waited until the time was right. Early on with Rat Dog, after Jerry checked out, I didn't do much Grateful Dead material at all. I did as little as I could to still keep people coming in the doors, but I wasn't quite ready to go back there, and it's not an emotional sort of deal. I guess there was a little of that involved, but I just wanted to take a pause. It just seemed like I oughta.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started doing it again, slowly all the songs came, and one by one they just sort of demanded that okay, it's time. I got to breathe again, and you can help me do this. And so I went with it.
Well, Bob Weir, thanks so much for speaking with us.
Well, thank you.